Did you guys know Jim Gordon, who he is? How many people here know the name Jim Gordon? He's a big guy, and he's, to me, the best drummer in the world. The best. And he was the #1 studio drummer in this town for years. The #1 guy did, you know, oh God, man, I can't even begin to name all the people he did. You know, he did the Steely Dan Pretzel Logic album, Carly Simon, You're So Vain, on and on and on. Low Spark and High Heel Boys, Traffic, Clapton, Delaney and Bonnie, best drummer in the world, the best. His drums, nobody's drums sounded better, nobody grooved better than this guy. You've got to go out and get albums that he's playing on, and you'll have the biggest schooling you ever had in your life listening to this guy. His time was the best. Ask any, I mean, everybody used to talk about this guy.
None of us knew at that time that he had some problems, you know, serious mental problems.
When you have enough money to do anything you want, and you have enough money to be surrounded by people who would love to get a piece of it, who are telling you yes to everything that you want, there pretty much isn't anything, no matter how wild and off the wall, or perhaps ultimately destructive even, that you can't have if you just say so. And the idea that there might be some terrible price to pay, I don't think that it really occurred to anybody.
What began as a musical collaboration between Jim Gordon and singer Renee Armand soon became something far more intimate.
We flew to Las Vegas and got married.
The honeymoon didn't last long.
I don't have a metabolism for a lot of drugs. There's only so much I could handle. I couldn't keep up with him.
Then, on a trip to London,
He got a supply of whatever it was he needed, and he stayed in the hotel room. We saw George Harrison and his wife at the time, Patty, in Henley, and then we went down and saw Eric Clapton. It was not a particularly pleasant trip.
I had a recording session, and he didn't show up. And so we quick got a sub to come in and play, and I got through the session, and after the session, I called him, and he said, "Oh, Perry, I am so sorry. I overslept something." He says, "You know," and he says, "You know that's not what I do." "Oh, Perry, all I can do is apologize." And I said, "Don't worry about it." About 2 sessions later, he didn't show up again. And that's when I knew something was haywire.
Jim had trouble with voices, you know, your voices.
He became paranoid.
I saw him kind of get deeper into a darker area.
There's 2 sides to Jim, everybody knows.
I remember coming home, and I came up the stairs of our house, and he was in the hallway when I walked in, and he said to me, "I know what you've done." He was talking to me. He wasn't talking to me.
He thought perhaps that there were forces that were threatening him.
He held out these things in the palm of his hand, and there were 3. He had like a scrap of paper and a pin and a string, and he said, "I know what you've done. You've created the devil's triangle. I found them."
driven by the voices in his head, Jim began to strangle her.
I didn't want to die. Didn't want to die like that, at least. I only got away because he stopped long enough to go to the kitchen and get a drink, and I crawled out and hid. I pretty much never saw him again.
Increasingly disconnected, unable to work, Jim Gordon had apparently hit bottom. Tragically, he had further to go.
He went looking for his wife, so he went to the house to look for her, and she wasn't home. So he ran to his mother's house to see where the wife was. And I think the mother must have irritated him or something, but he said the spirit made him do it. I mean, he just killed her, chopped her up.
It was dreadful to think that that this had happened. I was just so sad.
It was all so shocking. I've never really gotten over it.
Afterwards, he went to Chadney's restaurant in Burbank, California, where he was found and arrested. On the way to be booked, Gordon repeatedly told the officers, I'm sorry, but she tortured me for years.
I think of Günter Grass's book, The Tin Drum. Jimmy did what the character in The Tin Drum did. He locked himself in his bedroom and played the drums loudly so that he wouldn't hear anybody calling for him. From what he said, I think that he felt overwhelmed by what was going on in his family. And he just played louder and louder and louder. And it took him away. It took him away, but it didn't solve anything in the end.
Despite his lawyer's attempts to enter a plea of insanity, the judge found Gordon guilty of second-degree murder. He is currently serving a sentence of 16 years to life in the State Medical Corrections Facility in Vacaville, California.